Heard you guys wanted a new editing tutorial? So it's nighttime right now, as you can see, and I'm gonna speak a little quieter because everyone in the house is sleeping.
Hopefully.
So before you actually start with editing your SSO character, you need to know a few things about them. So first of all, how do they look? Obviously, but think about it this way, like when they make designs, like fashion brands, they make designs, okay? Firstly, they like sketch it on paper and they like show every single detail of the outfit that they're designing. This is what you're gonna basically do with your character, especially if you have a character that has like a more complicated design or a character that has a lot of details. It's very important that you have like a reference picture so you don't forget the details about your character. Like, let's say my character has a very specific haircut, a very specific hair color, very specific makeup that I want them to have. Like, you want to have a reference picture of your character, and basically what that does is it helps you make the character look the same every time you edit it. Obviously, if you have like a very simplistic character, like I literally have a blue-eyed blonde, okay, very average looking girl, okay, you don't really need a reference picture for that because she's most likely gonna end up looking the same in every edit. But this, if you have a more complicated character design, I would recommend you to do this. If you don't want to do it in Star Stable, I also highly recommend The Sims, obviously, because that's like the most, like the game where you can customize the most to your character that I can think of right now. Second of all, you need to know their height. And why is this important? In horse riding, obviously, your character is not going to look the same on every horse because all horses have different heights. Obviously, your character is going to look a lot bigger on a pony, and on a 17-hand Warmblood, she's going to look very small. So you need to take into consideration her height. And lastly, obviously, her style. This is very important because obviously a character, like if she has like a more alternative style, she's not going to wear like Lululemon or Brandy Melville, if that makes sense. You have to think about these things too if you want your character to seem realistic, and also on this topic, if you want like extra realism, I would recommend like each time you make an edit, like look for like real equestrian brands, like I don't know, Ariat, Lemio, Equine, I don't know what else I can think of. There's like hundreds, thousands of them, okay? You can look like at real life equestrian brands and like try to recreate the clothes that they have, the products that they have into Star Stable for, that extra bit of realism. I'm actually gonna do that today, so you're gonna see basically what I mean. And if you have like all of these points checked, then you can actually get to edit your character and we can get started. So I already have the horse edited. If you want to see how I edit horses from Star Stable, I actually have another video specifically about that you can watch. So anyways, you're gonna see that if you've watched that video, the one that I'm talking about that I made like 1 year ago about how I edit horses, you're gonna see that the process for editing humans is kind of similar, which is why I was like a little skeptic about making this video in the first place, because I feel like, yeah, you guys keep asking for a human editing tutorial, but I fear it's gonna turn out very lame because I'm just gonna do the same thing that I do when I edit horses, so I feel really bad. But anyways, so I'm cutting out the human's head, the human's face without the hair, and I'm blurring out her skin. I use the lasso tool, by the way, to cut out everything. So now I'm just gonna like once again use the liquefy tool that basically helps me, slightly move around the picture and edit the shapes. This is basically just like modeling the character, changing her eye shape, changing her nose, her lips a little bit, basically how I want her to look like. So once again, while you do all this, I would recommend having like a reference picture of your character, because this stage where like you're editing your own character, it's very important to make her look the same. So I basically go back to this edit specifically where you can see my character's face better, and I always look at it and I try to recreate like how I did the character in that edit. I try to recreate it in this edit. So anyways, basically just like move around, shape around how much you want and edit whatever you want. But I would recommend like try to make everything a little bit smoother using like blurring brushes. I don't know, use whatever you want, but I recommend like making it a bit more blurred because I really do not like the fact that the pixels you know, you can see them very clearly, and the image is like very low quality for some reason. I don't know why it is this way. I take pictures from Star Stable with my iPad, like you've seen that basically, and I don't know, but they always turn out so low quality, which is why I always like smoothen out everything before I actually start editing, because it just annoys me so bad that you can see every pixel. And yeah, then you can get started on her makeup if you want to do makeup. If you like do makeup in real life, you're probably gonna be really good at this too, because it's literally the same thing as applying makeup to your face, but you just do it, you know, on a digital pixelated character. So I just started with her brows. I do not really like the fact that they're too light. She used to have a different hair, like in Star Stable she had a different hair, which is why I kept these like really light colored eyebrows, and honestly I don't really want to change them. So yeah, I just darkened them a bit and I shaped them around a bit, and then I get started with the bronzer, the blush first, then the bronzer, and then you know, lashes always at the end. I feel like our characters barely have lashes in Star Stable, and it really annoys me, because there's like a makeup setting where you can make like your character have like a bit of eyeliner, which basically is supposed to simulate eyelashes, but it still looks really bland, and I do not like that. Okay, I want my character to I want my character to have those big humongous lashes. Okay, let me have my fun. This picture right here, like my character always has that makeup on with like the eyeliner, or like the eyeliner that's supposed to be lashes basically, and she still looks super bland, and she still looks like a little boy, and I do not like that. So obviously I have to give my character big lashes. I also give my horses big lashes. I don't know, I love big lashes. So now that we're done with the face, I'm just gonna put it on top of the reference picture, so you know it matches the reference picture. And once again, I'm just gonna use the Liquify tool to make that happen. And then I'm importing the same picture once again basically, but this time I'm cutting out the hair together with the hoodie that she's wearing. Obviously you can make your character wear whatever you want, but my character is wearing a hoodie, so I'm just cutting her out, like the hair together with the hoodie. And then once again, I'm just gonna shape it to the reference picture. That's what I'm gonna do. And as you can see in the reference picture, the girl, who I think is Gigi Hadid, but I'm not sure. Okay, I'm not sure. I don't want to say anything. But basically, in the reference picture, the girl is reading a book or magazine, whatever. And we're obviously not gonna do that. I'm not gonna make my character read a magazine, because like that magazine is basically covering most of her face, and what's the point of making, you know, a human tutorial if I'm just gonna cover her face with a book, right? So I'm just gonna, you know, stray a bit from the reference picture, and I'm just gonna have her, you know, stand normal on the horse with like both her hands down. So now I'm just adding the pants and the shoes, and I'm also doing her hair to make it look a bit more alive. I'm using the same brushes that I use for horses' manes and tails. And if you're curious to know what brush set that is, first of all, it's completely free actually. And you can find it in my first editing video, the 1K special, where I show how I did the horses. It's literally the exact same brush. As long as you find something that looks like hair, it doesn't really matter. These are just like the brushes that I love the most. I know how to use them, I know how to control them, and I just think they look amazing, and they're completely free. What the hell? So you know what, why not? I absolutely love them. And I talked about this before, but they're actually made by someone in our community, like in the Star Stable community, so I think that's super cool. Anyways, as you saw, I wanted to add the Lemieux logo on my character's hoodie, you know, as I said, for that extra bit of realism. There's not actually like a piece of clothing that looks exactly like what I made my character wear, but it's kind of inspired, you know, so still works. It took a long time to find the exact font, sorry. And I don't even think it's the exact font, but it looks really similar to the Lemio font. So I would recommend, like, if you find a equestrian brand that you want to use, you know, for your character to wear, firstly, search up their logo or download it. Don't be stupid. Don't do it like me and just like try to look for ages for the font. You know, just to make your life easier, basically search brand name and logo, and it's gonna give you a transparent PNG of the logo. So don't be stupid, okay? The last thing I do is just add shadows to everything, and then I'm importing the background. So I'm just making it so the back is a bit more blurred and the front is more cleared, you know, to add that like depth effect, if that makes sense. And then because the horse is grazing, obviously I'm gonna like select a few strands of grass, from the original picture, and basically I'm just gonna copy paste them over and over again until it looks, you know, a bit more realistic, and like there's a few strands of grass covering the horse's legs and the horse's mouth because the horse is grazing. So it looks a bit more realistic and it doesn't look like, you know, the horse is just floating on air, if that makes sense. So this was it. Before I leave you guys, I'm gonna put the speed lapse recording of the entire edit, like the process of making the entire edit, so you can see everything from the horse to the rider to the background. So obviously, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hope this was helpful. Once again, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments down below. I try to answer to them all. And yeah, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I hope I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye!